Hey, what's up everybody? Sorry I'm a little bit late. It's been one of those weeks, and I think it's been one of those weeks because it's like 15 days, not even like less than 15 days left than half of the year. But hey, welcome everybody to another Fresh CFO Fridays. If this is your first time joining and first time like locking in, my name is Chris Ortega. I'm the CEO of Fresh FP&A. I run a global fractional CFO and advisory service company that helps empower small to medium-sized businesses that are seeking financial clarity and confidence. And today's topic, so one of the topics I want to talk about today is I've over the course of, I would say, the last couple of months, I've had a lot of people reach out to me about, hey Chris, like I've got this experience, I've been in accounting, been in finance, I've been a CFO. I really want to dive into the fractional CFO side of the business. So one of the things and the purpose of this conversation I want to have today is talking about the fractional CFO disruption and explain it to you. So kind of what we're going to talk through here today. We're going to talk through kind of like how we got here. What's the current landscape of a fractional CFO? What are some of those things that I've learned as I've been building Fresh FP&A? And if you're thinking about jumping into a fractional CFO business, I'll kind of go through some of the common questions and things that I get from people that I've talked with and just messages I get on LinkedIn. So let's jump right into it. So the fractional concept itself, right? When you think about, and this is just my history that I've done, right? I feel like during the pandemic, fractional anything, whether you're a fractional CMO, whether you're a fractional chief human resource officer, whether you're a fractional CHRO, chief revenue officer, it really took off. But if you go back in history, and shout out to everybody over in Australia, New Zealand, it already had its inception over there. I'm part of a fractional CFO community that is mainly based in Australia, New Zealand, and I actually have a teammate that is based in Sydney, Australia. And the fractional concept in and of itself was going back like 10 years before the pandemic. So we're talking like 2010, 2019, where the fractional concept really took root in the APAC region, specifically New Zealand, specifically in Australia. And like the fractional role itself was not something that was new to them. Like that's where that's like, yeah, this is common. And the more that it switched over to the Americas, over to Western, we had like interim. That's what we kind of considered fractional, right? Like if you were thinking about as a business owner, or you were thinking about as a role for yourself, you were probably looking at like, hey, I want to do something interim. So like we use the word like interim finance, interim CFOs, interim sales leader. You have it, right? We didn't really adopt the fractional concept until, I would say, during the pandemic time. That's when I really seen a fundamental shift of this fractional concept, right? And you may be asking like, Chris, what's your insights and what you think drove that? Here's what I think that drove it, right? You had companies that needed skills, passions, talents, and expertise from individuals, right? So like you've got the demand. There's maybe small to medium sized businesses, there's enterprise level businesses that have this demand for talent, right? But then over here, you had like, man, I don't know if with a lot of uncertainty right during the pandemic, that was probably like one of the most uncertain times that we were going through. But you had a lot of people that had this uncertainty, right? And they're like, I don't know if I don't know what our business is going to look like. I don't know how we're going to come out of this, but I don't know if I can necessarily like afford that C-level leadership and that expertise and skill, right? And also during the pandemic, this was like a fundamental shift on like talent, right? Like talent was super in demand. Not to say it's not in demand now, but it was like the opportunity to get talent. And if you were a high performing, high potential person, like you got access to really great jobs. And it was like a talent boom. So you have these two big macro factors, right? Businesses that need those skills, passions, talents, and expertise from people that have been there, done that in their functional areas. But then also the reluctancy of like, man, I don't know if I have the money or the runway or the premiums to invest in this talent, right? Like bringing on, if you look at it, and we know these numbers like the back of our head, CFO not knowing the numbers, right? Like, yeah. But when you look at hiring like a full-time CFO, right? When you take in the salary, you take in the bonus, you take in the recruiting costs, you take in all the benefits, you take in the ramp time, that's somewhere between a $750,000 to like a $1.5 million investment that you're making in that resource, right? And this is for like small to medium sized businesses, right? Like if you're super small, you're probably not looking at that. But if you're a growing, scaling company that, you're looking to grow and scale and you're looking to bring on that financial leader or that sales leader or that marketing leader, you're making a significant investment. And oh, by the way, in looking at a last SHRM, Society of Human Resource Management study, the cost of losing a C-level suite is like 10x of those dollars, right? Like when you think about the cost of attrition of losing a CFO or losing a chief marketing officer or losing a chief human resource officer, take that number times it by 10. That's the cost of that business, right? So there's a lot of cost and a lot of risk and a lot of objections tied to that full-time position. Now introduce the fractional concept, right? Like the fractional CFO or the fractional chief human resource officer. You get that same demand of that skills, passions, talents, and expertise, right? But you don't have to pay the full-time salary, bonuses, commissions, recruiting. You don't have to pay all of those extra costs, right? It's like the fractional concept is the right perfect middle in between both of those, right? And I remember starting early in after the pandemic, and I was going through, and I had this, like, I was always doing, like, I would say, like, not fractional CFO, but consulting, financial consulting, as well as I had a full-time job, right? It was more of like my side hustle of what I was doing, right? So like I was doing this on the side as well as having a full-time job. And then I seen this demand, I seen this change in market, I seen this value proposition. I'm like, man, like I've worked with some really great entrepreneurs, right? My my initials are CEO, so I'm like, I'm taking the leap of faith and I really want to give back my skills, passions, talents, and experiences to small to medium sized businesses, SMBs. Like I want to work with those businesses that are $1 to $80 million in annual revenue, that are seeking financial clarity, seeking a strategic finance partner to help grow, scale their businesses, right? So like that's where we kind of fell into it. And now you look at it now, and I have so many people that reach out to me and they're like, Chris, I've got 20 years experience, I got 15, I got 20, like all these different levels of experience. And they're like, I want to kind of dabble into that fractional concept, right? So that's like that first piece of like, okay, where do we come from and where are we at now? The next thing I want to kind of jump into in this Fresh CFO Friday is let me run through some of those like pitfalls. As if you're thinking, so all those people tuning in right now, if you're thinking about starting your fractional CFO business, are you thinking about, dabbling into it, testing it out? I want to give you like my top 3 things for you to think about. The first one is the most important aspect. And this is a failure that I learned. So all of these, before I go into it, I want to be fully transparent. Like I literally failed at these. So everything I'm telling you and giving you is based on the experience of failing on my face and my team falling on our face to not do these things. The first thing that you got to focus on, if you're moving into, maybe it's a fractional controller role, or you want to start your own fractional accounting place, or you got 25, 30 years, you're a CFO and you're like, Chris, I want to be a CFO, fractional CFO. The first thing you focus on is stop trading your time for money, right? Let me repeat that again. So I started off in public accounting. Shout out to drop in the chat if you're former public accounting. I would like show everybody my branding. Like I'm branded now, Fresh FP&A, but when I started my career, I was branded E&Y. But when I started my career, I started in professional services. So it's kind of full circle, right? Started my career in professional services, specifically in audit at Ernst & Young. And now like at the later stage of my career, 21 years later, right? I look in that same place and I'm like, man, I'm right back where I was, right? But in a better place. But focus on the value, right? Don't make the mistake. A critical mistake that we made, and I'll share this story, is we had a client that was going through some challenges and some opportunities in their business, and we originally had the agreement with them that was based on time and material, right? So we were equating time for a dollar amount that we were doing. And I remember having a conversation with the client, and they mentioned to me, they were like, "Hey, Chris, yeah, we had to make this decision." And I was like, I was the last person to know, right? Like I was at the last end of the totem pole. And I'm like, man, I really wish you would have engaged me and my team before you would have made that decision, because we would have had a different perspective. There's different ways we could have went with it. And here's what changed everything for me around that time and value, right? The time and material piece of it. The client sat across on that meeting and said, yeah, Chris, like, yeah, we didn't want to engage you because we knew like that would have been like probably another 2 hours of time. And we know how much that is costing us. So we're trying to be really conscious of our cost. And everybody, like, I still go back to that moment, how I felt in there. And I was just like, I don't want two things to ever happen in that. I don't want one of our clients to feel like they can't talk to us, talk to my team, connect with us on something that we know we can provide value because the meter's running on the clock, right? So immediately we were like, nope, getting away from this. I want to be value focused. I don't want to get in conversations where we're nickel and diming. Like, hey, we were on a meeting for 40 minutes. Is that a 30-minute meeting or should we round it up? I'm like, I don't want to do that. So we immediately switched over to being value focused for our clients. And also the other thing too, for like my team, right? Like I kind of like was looking at utilization, like how much of their time are they focused on like billing? How much of it is like administrative time? And then I was getting into this utilization. I'm like, I don't honestly like, as long as we're providing value and we're committing to deliver high quality work and our clients are happy, like if that takes 80 hours or if that takes 5 hours, right? Like whatever that takes, I don't want to keep my team so focused on like utilization targets. So that's probably the one pitfall that I want to give everybody as you're going down this road. And think about it. Let me just expand on this a little bit more because this is so important for you to think about. What's a resource? Everybody put on your hats now, right? Put on your CFO, put on your finance, put on your accounting hats. If I got marketers here, put on your marketer hat. What's a resource in an organization that their value is determined based on the time and the dollar that you pay them, right? That resource is a consultant, right? So if you think about the mindset of a business owner, like you think like a CEO, you think like a business owner, you think like a founder, when they're getting a resource and the value you're providing to them is equated to, hey, I worked 5 hours and my rate is $500. So you pay me $2,500. Here's that. You've automatically like created yourself in a lane where it's like, I know if they're creating value, I know that this is what this is going to cost me in value, right? You're already in their eyes as a consultant, right? So even in the organization, you're already in that viewpoint of like, yeah, Fresh FP&As are consultants, right? Versus the other way, when you focus on value, right? What's a resource that they get consistently paid the same amount every month and they're focused on delivering value to the organization? That resource is an employee, right? An employee, you get annual salary. If you're paid bi-weekly or paid twice a month, right? Take your salary, divide it by 24. That's what you're going to get paid every month. And the same value you're created. So like the perception and the value that in the partnership that you're coming into with that client is not just, hey, Fresh FP&As are consultants, our financial consultants. No, Fresh FP&A is our financial partners and advisors. That's a gem right there. If you think about FP&A and tie that in, where it's like, oh, Chris is financial planning analysis. No. Financial partners and advisors. That's what we focused on. That's what we want to be. We want to be your value added finance partners, right? We don't want to be your time and material consultants, right? So as you're thinking about that, right? And it's a common thing you're going to come across. And I would say it's an objection, because like an objection is like, well, I don't need your services. It's a common question that you're going to come across into if you're thinking about jumping into starting your fractional business. The number one thing in tying out that pitfall, do not equate your time to money, equate value. Always focus on value. Value. Because think about it holistically, right? There's 24 hours in a day, right? If you always equate your time to money, you're only limited. Like you're limited to 24 hours. And I don't know about people, and maybe somebody's out there. I'm not knocking. Maybe you're billing 24 hours a day, right? Like you're not sleeping, you're not eating, you're not doing any of that stuff, right? But when you focus on that, you automatically constrain like what you can do, right? So first pitfall, focus on value. Second thing, you're thinking about starting your fractional CFO business, or you're looking at that, build great partnerships outside of finance. Listen, finance people, let's get in here. Come on, let's hug it in. Let's hug it in. I'm gonna hug it in with you, right? All those people looking at this right now, we're hugging it in. So trust, this is a trust circle right here, right? Trust circle. The biggest thing you have to stop doing, stop thinking like a CFO and start thinking like a CEO. I know some of you are like, Chris, that went over my head. You gotta dive deeper into this. You gotta go deeper. Let me explain why. When you're working, right, with a client, and I made this everything again, guys, I'm dropping nuggets on you guys. Like, I'm dropping gems right now. Everything I failed into this, right? When you're sitting across, like, let's talk about our ICP. ICP, ideal customer profile. You got to know that, right? Your ideal customer profile is like, hey, who's the right person I want to provide my service, solution, or product to? Who's the ideal person for that? Ours, small to medium sized growing businesses that are $1 to $80 million in revenue. That's our ICP. That's who we want to focus on. And initially, I would sit there and I would like talk about how we can help support them from the finance perspective. Here's all this. And I said, I had a great mentor, and he told me, he's like, Chris, as you're building the business and you're a great finance leader, you're a great CFO, like, you know it. You've been to those mountaintops, you've had acquisitions, you've done fundraising, like, you've reached the mountaintops in a lot of different things in finance, but that only got you so far. You have to start thinking like a CEO with your clients. Like, you have to, and when I start thinking like a CEO with our clients, that's where I said, hey, like, how do I understand like their frustrations and the pains that the CEO, the business owner, or founder are going up with? Like, when I ask them this question, like, hey man, what keeps you up at night? And they're like, man, Chris, what keeps me up at night is, I know we're growing our business, but are we growing it the right way? I know we're making investments into new markets, but I don't know if we're gonna see ROI around that. I know we're being cost conscious, but I really want to know how much our runway is. I really want to be able to leverage relationships to get more capital in our business. I want to bring on more talent. So many times the pitfall that you'll make in that conversation is that CEO's communicating to you and you're going to automatically thinking about, here's all the finance things I can do to help you, right? Do not do that. Think like a CEO. Like, this is where I think empathy and like get into their life and understanding that is really, really going to be helpful for you. So like understanding those and saying, okay, like, tell me more about that, right? Like, don't come with the prescription of like, hey, I got 30 years of doing this. Hey, I know your recipe. Like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, right? Don't make that mistake. Understand what it's like to be in that business owners, that CEOs, that founders, where they're guiding their business, because these people are passionate about their business, right? They're passionate about what they do. They're impact driven. They want to continue to make an impact and scale. So that second piece of it, as you're thinking about building your business, right? Build it with the lens of, I'm a let me just I'm gonna give everybody our secret sauce. Here it is, right? You guys got it right now. And if you go back and look at this video, you're like, I cannot believe Chris gave away the secret Okay, can you guys hear me now? I had to change over to microphone, so hopefully you guys can hear me. Hopefully it's good. I don't know. Man, the joys. This is yes. Okay, you can hear me, right? If somebody can like do the thumbs up in the chat that you can hear me, then I will continue because I know where I left off. So if somebody can do that for me, because I don't have it on outside, so I can't really like hear myself. Okay, yes, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Chopped and screwed on my end though. Okay. Um, all right. So what I was talking about was specifically the secret sauce. So let me get back to that. Point number 2, pitfall, secret sauce. Thanks, Laurent. That's where I was. Apologize for the back and forth. All right, secret sauce. Here's a secret sauce for you. Secret sauce in building your fractional CFO business is be a finance partner, be a business partner that helps solve business problems through the financial lens. That's it. Like, let me play that back real slow for you. Be a business partner to help solve business problems, but your skill set is to do it from the financial perspective. That's the same way, like when I look at my network of partners that help build Fresh FP&A, which is another area, right? That is what they do. There's great fractional CMOs, there's great COOs, there's great fractional chief human resource officers that we work with. And this is exactly the framework that they do. They're business partners to help solve business problems, but they do it through the marketing lens. They do it through the operations lens. They do it through the human resources lens. They do it through the revenue lens, right? You need to do it through the financial lens, right? And that may be like challenging for some people because you're like, Chris, like I got 30 years of experience in finance. Like I want to lead with that. Don't do that. Another great example, right? A lot of our clients work with us and it's like they come to me with ideas about, hey, Chris, like I'm thinking about this whole marketing strategy, right? Completely outside of like finance, right? Like, I don't think marketing and finance are completely outside of each other, but they come to us because they're like, hey, I know Fresh FP&A is they're business partners and they help us solve business problems. So I know I can come to them with a marketing strategy. I've had clients, my team have clients that come with them and talk about like personnel issues with the team. I've had clients and our team has had people come talk with them about like looking at ancillary benefits, right? I've had people like when you establish yourself as a business partner to help that CEO, business owner, or founder solve business problems, you make yourself valuable, right? Now it's just like, now if you do it the other way, right? Say you're just a finance partner to help solve finance problems, right? You completely like, if that business owner's thinking about, oh yeah, like I'm thinking about this marketing strategy and how we could like get resources around that. Yeah, like nah, Fresh FP&A, they're just our finance partners. Like, nah, this isn't really finance related, so I'm not going to talk to them about that. Like, nah, we'll talk to them when we get the contract and send over the cost, right? You limit yourself. But when you focus on being a business partner to solve business problems and the perspective you provide in that is from the finance perspective, now you make yourself invaluable. So that is really pitfall number 2. Do not limit yourself to just be just the CFO. Start thinking. My challenge to you, start thinking like a CEO. Because when you're building your fractional CFO business, I wear this hat every day, guys. Sometimes I got the CEO hat on. Sometimes I have the CFO hat. Sometimes I have, when I'm talking with my sales team or my business development, my marketing team, I have the marketing hat on. When I'm talking with our IT partners, I have an IT hat on. If you're thinking about building your business, like a true business, you're going to have to wear those different hats. But when you're talking and sitting across from a client, think like a CEO, stop thinking like a CFO. I know that maybe some people are like, yo, that's wild. It's a fresh perspective. Think about it, right? All right. Technical difficulties are not going to stop us. Pitfall number 3 to not make in your fractional CFO business. Do not, and I find this a lot with just people, and this is just more like not even fractional CFO businesses, but like starting a business, right? I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of different people in a lot of different industries that are not just thinking about doing a fractional CFO business. And one of the things that stop them is they don't want to start until they get that first paid opportunity, right? So I was talking with a company that's looking to do some AI automation in finance, right? And they're building their MVP. They're reaching out. I had a good colleague that connected me with them and said, "Hey, Chris is a technology enthusiast. He loves it. He has a lot of great background. He's bringing the fresh view to finance." Like he actually put in my trademark title and look and everything. I was like, "Thanks, bro. Like I love how you kept that on brand and even in the conversation, right?" And I'm talking with them, and we get to the end of the conversation because really great insights. I'm like, "Hey, man, I've seen so many different technologies, whether it's like budgeting and planning, whether it's RPA, whether it's AI, whether it's billing. Like I've seen finance, I've seen so many different technologies. I've implemented so many technologies. We at Fresh FP&A are tech. It's a pillar of ours on the platform side. So, and we got to the end of the conversation. He was like, "Yeah, man. Like I said, look, the most important thing that you could be doing, the value is don't start and don't like not start what you're trying to do in this initiative until you get the first paid client, right? Or get the first paid customer, right? The value of you is now translating that to your fractional CFO business, right? Some people are like, well, Chris, I don't want to start until I get like 5 people lined up that are paying me money. The value is like, go do it. Again, tying back to my experience. I was doing consulting and like advisory stuff 4 or 5 years before I went full time into Fresh FP&A, right? It's kind of a misconception. People think I just like went off and then I had this clear stop and I was like over and done with it, right? All right, let's go to this one. Hey guys, man, I am sorry, dude. Like this is frustrating. And I know everybody on the live right now is like, yo, this is frustrating, Chris. You're blocking in and out, you're jumping in and out. Um, you know what? This is a character building moment right now, right? And for all of those still here through the audio cutout, through the freezing, uh, that is thank you. Okay, so if you're still here, where I was leaving off was specifically around the um can you guys hear me okay? Thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay. Well, I'm just going to keep going until my computer messes up again. All right, so I was talking about pitfall number 3 was specifically around the pitfall number 3, specifically around I'm trying to find where I was at cuz I'm tapping into this. So I was at uh okay, got it. Don't let your first paid client be where you start, right? So I was getting back to that example of that software company I was working with and advising them on. The feedback that you get from people, right? And here's my test to you. So before it like starts messing up again, right? Got to get this one out. If you find 4 to 5 people that you're testing out your fractional CFO bit, I had a great person reach out to me and they're like, Chris, I want to do fractional CFO. I want to focus on non-for-profits. I want to focus on non-for-profits that are socially driven. And I said, great, man. Go find 5 people and go through a period where maybe you're just working with them for like 2 months, right? You're figuring out the value. You're figuring out, is this really the kind of ICP you want to work with? Is this really the kind of customer you want to work with? Like, don't let monetization stop you from starting. So many people make that mistake. Is like, and this is where I go back to like my software side and like working with a lot of great engineering teams. Go build an MVP or an MVS. MVP, minimum viable product, or MVS, in your fractional CFO business, minimum viable service, right? Go test it out, get the feedback, right? So I advised that. I was like, hey man, go get 3 or 4 people, work with them for maybe a month, 2 months, see if you like this, right? See if you like, if you want to do this work, see if that's the kind of customer you want to work with, right? And that was so helpful for me because before starting Fresh FP&A full time, that's what I was doing. Like I was testing out. I was like, yeah, like man, insurance is not my jam. I'm glad I was able to help them, but like that's not my jam. That's not what I want to be doing. And I was dabbling into some stuff because like I was helping with somebody on their like books, and I know accounting, right? I'm a former Ernst & Young, like did the whole CPA thing. Like I get it, I know it, but I was like, yeah, I don't want to be doing this, right? So like that third pitfall is like, don't let pay stop you from starting. Let me say that again. Don't let like finding your first paid client stop you from getting the experience of what it means to be a fractional CMO, a fractional CRO, a fractional sales officer. A lot of our partners that we work, that's exactly how they got started. They were doing this as a side, and then they found exactly the kind of customer that they want to work with. They found who they wanted to be around. They knew what kind of value they wanted to do. They knew what kind of services they wanted to provide. They knew what they were willing to spend their time, and they figured all that out by getting and doing it, right? And they gave, like 30 days or 40 days or whatever that timeline looks for you, but that gives you that feedback, the feedback that, is this the kind of customer I want to work with? Is this the kind of work that I want to do? Is the kind of flexibility I want to have? All of those are way more important than saying, hey, I monetize. Because if you figure those things out, then it's like, great, I know the customer I want to work with. I know the work that I want to do. I know the value I want to provide. I know where I need support. Now you can go build around that. So that third pitfall around it, if you're still here, do not let monetization stop you from starting. It should go build the MVS, minimum viable solution, minimum viable service. Find 3 to 5 people that you can test that out, feedback, you provide that value. If you want to do it, check all those boxes. And now here's the thing. Now afterwards, right? If you provided that value, that customer likes you, you're that fractional CFO that they wanted, it's your job now to monetize and say, hey man, we did this. Like I had this proof of value period. You feel value on your side. I feel value on my side. Let's talk through and how we can make this more official in an ongoing relationship. Now you monetized it, right? So a lot of people just want to go from product to getting paid. It's just in between, like build the MVP, get the feedback, get all that, check all those boxes, right client, right work, right value. This is what I want to do, flexibility team, then get to that monetization. So that's my third pitfall to make. Don't let that stop you. All right. So we kind of went to those 3 pitfalls. If you've made it here to this point, like you are obviously committed to this live, make sure to like it, make sure to subscribe it, send it to other people, drop a note. Like if you made it to this point, I just want to take a second and say thank you for dealing with the technical difficulties. I'm looking at my computer and I think it has to do something with my updates because I'm getting all these updates and restart now. So apologize for all of that. But in summarizing this one, I think what I'm going to do going forward is I want to like break a little bit of these sections down because again, the whole catalyst of me starting this fresh CFO Friday was I get a lot of people reaching out to me and I just want to be able to give back. This is year 3 for me building Fresh FP&A. I'm still learning. I still have so much more to learn. I'm still making mistakes. I'm still failing. I'm still like super excited and passionate about the business. Like I'm pumped about it. I'm pumped about the value that a fractional CFO has now. We got the environment. We got the market aligned towards it. We got people really respecting it. Here's where I knew the fractional CFO reached scale. This is another secret, right? When I started seeing LinkedIn jobs and Indeed jobs that are specifically hiring for fractional CFOs, I was like, yes, we have arrived. We are here. It is now companies realize the value of a fractional CFO and they need to now go actually find people to fit that. So we're at a great place right now. If you're thinking about starting your fractional CFO business and you want to know like some tips, some tricks, I got some really exciting things that we're going to roll out in Q3. I've been working on it. I've been behind the scenes. I've been working on really, really something awesome that if you're looking for that training and you're looking for that knowledge and you want to get that expertise and how to start, what to look for, like we got a whole IE, here it comes. We got a whole training course that's going to be coming out for you in Q3. And it's going to be me. It's going to be all the lessons learned. If you enjoyed this, it's going to be diving into this deeply. It's going to be fire for you to be able to get started in that. So thank you everybody so much. I appreciate you taking time out. If you've enjoyed this conversation, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, all those things. That way you stay in tune with all Fresh CFO Fridays. And as I always end, keep pushing, never settle, and the best is yet to come. Let's get it. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Catch you on the next Fresh CFO Fridays. Thank you, guys. And thank you again for all the audio people. If you're still here, thank you for the comments and let me know next time. We're going to make sure we don't have all these technical issues. So have a great weekend, everybody. Keep it fresh.